Hey, enjoy some more background behind the scenes information related to the power of Daleks. As of last time, this is being read out from the TARDIS Data Core. That's the Doctor Who fan wiki. This is the first televised Dalek story not to be written or co-written by Terry Nation, as he was working on The Baron. This is the first Dalek story to use the title format of the Daleks, the most commonly used title format for stories featuring the creatures. The chilling incidental soundtrack is reused from the Daleks and the Daleks Master Plan. Peter Hawkins, Dalek Voices, is credited as Daleks Voices in Radio Times for episode 3. This is the only story during the Second Doctor's original televised run not to feature Jamie McCrimmon. Counting the 3 Doctors, it is also one of 2 stories to feature Patrick Troughton but not Fraser Hines. This is the only story introducing a new Doctor in the classic series to run longer than 4 episodes. The trailer states that this story takes place in 2020. This serial concludes a run of 7 animated reconstructions that begins with the 4th episode of The 10th Planet, which was released 3 years earlier. This was the longest consecutive run of animated reconstructions produced by the BBC until 2019, when it was announced that The Faceless Ones would be receiving an animated reconstruction. This story introduces a new typeface for the credits and episode titles, replacing the one used for the past 3 seasons, outside of the special title cards used in The War Machines and The 10th Planet. The new one would remain in use for the entirety of Patrick Troughton's tenure. This story was later released as part of the Animation Collection. The only known set of copies of Power to not be documented as returned or junked were sent to RTS in Singapore from the New Zealand Broadcasting Corporation in 1972. RTS successor MediaCorp claimed to not possess any copies. Furthermore, Philip Morris claims that Singapore was searched at some point, but the country contained no older British programs. Their ultimate fate, as well as many other stories, remains unknown. Given the country's climate and film storage issues at the time, the reels are most likely destroyed. According to a user on missingepisodes.com, a reviewer on Amazon claimed to have seen episode 1 of this story at a high school in Singapore 6 years after the story was originally broadcast in 1972. This means RTS retained the copy of at least that episode as late as 1978, the same year the junking policy ended, and loaned for print to the school, although its fate afterwards has yet to be confirmed. It was either returned or destroyed, stolen, given away, or junked by the school themselves. If the episode is recovered, it would more than likely be the reel from Singapore. In early 2020, a user on Twitter known as James Johnson uploaded pictures of several film snippets sent to him from a private collection, showing never-before-seen frames of the original production focusing on Lesterson discovering what lies in the Dalek capsule. This included previously unknown angles, lighting, and parts of the set left out from existing telesnaps. Another user, Aaron J. Klimas, put some of the frames together, successfully recreating very brief shots from episodes 4 and 5 in a GIF format. However, it has been hinted that some of the trims are simply unused shots. At the start of rehearsals, Anik Wills and Michael Craze decided to prank Patrick Troughton by dressing in t-shirts which proclaimed, "Come back Bill Hartnell, all is forgiven." Troughton, insecure about taking over, initially reacted badly to the joke, but the 3 actors soon overcame this misstep to forge a close camaraderie. Some colorized images of the surviving black and white photographs incorrectly depict the Dalek torso as being bright blue, similar to the spheres on the lower casing, even though numerous official photographs in color depict the original props as having silver torsos of a slightly brighter tone compared to the rest of the Dalek shell. This was the first incomplete story to have all of its episodes reconstructed using animation. This would be followed by The Macro Terror, The Faceless Ones, Fury from the Deep, The Evil of the Daleks, Galaxy 4, and The Abominable Snowmen. The special edition of the animated version of this story was originally intended to be released in March 2020 so as to coincide with what would have been Patrick Troughton's 100th birthday. However, the release date was delayed until July due to COVID-19. Charles Norton, the director of the animated release, revealed in the information booklet that accompanies the 2020 special edition that they were originally given 10 months to make the 6 animated episodes, and he thought that they might be able to do it in 8 months, which he called an almost impossibly tight deadline. However, when the release date was changed so as to coincide with the 50th anniversary of when episode 1 of the serial was first broadcast, this cut their deadline to 5 months. Van Norton admitted that this release date made good sense. He was obviously panicked that they now had terrifyingly little time to complete the episodes. It's ridiculous. Here's the thing. If you're commissioning the people to do this stuff and you're not willing to do it themselves, it's like, oh, I wouldn't do that. No, I couldn't do that in 6 months or whatever. Well, then don't expect them to do it. Goodness. It's like, oh, it's your job. It's crap. He's like, oh, I don't have to do it, so I don't have to worry about it. What? That's horrible. They should have... I'm a fan of the Doctor Who now, I guess, but, they ought to have refused to work on that on principle. Don't let them exploit you like that. Sorry. Anyway, what have we got here? Charles Norton, you ought to have stood up for yourself and your animators. Coward. Production concluded when Norton met Rob Ritchie at a car park near Canary Wharf in the early hours of the morning, where the latter handed over the still-hot hard drive containing the masters due to go for grading a few hours later for delivery a few hours after that. Ritchie had been animating the last few shots on a laptop while sitting in the back of a car on the drive down. I hope they're not bragging about that. Like, that's not good. That's people exploiting you. That's disgusting. The rush production of the 2016 release of the animated version meant that none of the production team were happy with the finished result. Okay, so you were willing to fuck it up in 2020 as well. Charles Norton remarked it didn't really feel like a finished result at all, and that the animation on some scenes was very rough, and in others there was hardly any animation at all. Therefore, when they were given the chance to revisit the project for the special edition release, they greeted it with no little degree of elation. The worst-looking scenes are reanimated from scratch, while minor tweaks and adjustments were made to other parts. Norton claims the most notable differences between the two versions are in episodes 1 and 5. David Whittaker's original script is overlong, so Dennis Spooner was required to cut it down. A sequence in episode 3 set in the medical bay was removed entirely. That closes there. We'll end here because we'll get blocked otherwise. Thanks again, my friends.